come, quiet my soul. Remember, redemption's hill, your blood was spilled, my ransom, everything I once held dear, I count it all as lost. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. And lead me to the cross. You were as I, tempted and tried. Human, Word became flesh, bore my sin and death. You're risen. Everything I once held dear, I count it all as lost. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. And lead me to the cross. Hello. I don't know if anybody's hearing me, but I hope so. Can you hear me? Somebody make a comment in the comments if you can hear me. That would be amazing, because my mic is not showing up. Nothing's showing up. They can hear me. All right, good. Good to have you here, Wes, Andrea. Carol hears me. Colin hears me. All right, so something's just weird with the software here today. It's showing up that nothing is coming through. All right, so welcome here. It's good to have you here this evening. Welcome to COVID 1900 live from Shangri-La, my camper. Right, Ben?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
I'm glad you're here. It's good to have you. I want you to feel free to make comments in the chat, or if you're watching on the WFC website, you can make comments there, I believe, as well. And you can make comments also on my email, trevor.berg@wefc.net. So feel free to make any kind of comments at any time. But maybe there's a question. Not maybe. There is a question that I would love if you would answer it in those comments. When has someone shown you mercy when you didn't deserve it? So who has shown you mercy? There's maybe some obvious answers to that question, but I'd be curious to hear some interesting stories about who has shown you mercy. I'm going to get into the Job chapter 8. So we're going to read a little bit here and there in this chapter. I'm just going to remind those of you who haven't been following along a little bit of the background, just so you're not lost. Job has lost his kids. It sounded like they were killed in a tornado. He lost his wealth. He lost his health. all in one day. And it was literally through no fault of his own. However, in this reading, we know that he didn't do anything wrong to deserve what he is getting. But nobody else knows that. None of the human beings in this story know why this is all happening to him. So he's been suffering, and now he's sitting sort of in ashes, and he's basically waiting to die. So we've heard wisdom. I'll do the little quotes, wisdom from his friend Eliphaz. Now we're moving on to Bildad, and we have to stop for a moment to appreciate Bildad's name. His name is Bildad the Shuhite. I mean, come on, that's beautiful, right? We have to take a moment to just enjoy that. But by the way, Shuhite, that's not a short joke. Shuhite is an ethnicity. Come on, ethnicity, you guys, don't be racist. Right? Okay. However, Ben, don't you think Bildad would be a good name to have?
Yeah.
I mean, you go into the shop, someone says, "Sir, who should I make this invoice out to?" And you would say,
Bildad.
Bildad.
I think it'd be funnier if your kid's name was Bill.
Oh.
Because then you're Bildad and you're Bill's dad.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. Yeah. Maybe he is. Maybe he, I don't know. And later, when you get the bill and you hand it to your dad,
here's the bill,
you would say, "I'm sorry, I tried to get him to put my name on the bill, but you're the one who gave me that name," right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we'll get past the really stupid jokes. Bildad is getting frustrated with Job. Job is claiming that he doesn't deserve what he sees as punishment from God. Bildad sees this what's going on with Job as punishment from God. And so he starts off pretty strong. And we'll read the first 7 chapters of Job, chapter 8. Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, "How long will you say these things, and the words of your mouth be a great wind? Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? If your children have sinned against him, he has delivered them into the hand of their transgression. If you will seek God and plead with the Almighty for mercy, if you are pure and upright, surely then he will rouse himself for you and restore your rightful habitation. And though your beginning was small, your latter days will be very great." So here's Bildad. He's got this definition of justice. And he says, basically, you do something wrong, you get punished. Job's kids probably did something wrong. This is his assumptions. Your kids did something wrong, they got what they deserved. You must have done something wrong. So now it's time to beg for mercy. Let's read on. We're going to read a little bit more. We're going to read in Job chapter 8, verse 20. It says, "Behold, God will not reject a blameless man, nor take the hand of evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouting. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the tent of the wicked will be no more." So he's saying there's 2 things about justice. If you are a good man, if you are a good person, good things happen to you. If you are a bad person, you do things wrong, bad things happen to you. That's basically is. The interesting thing is, so here, Job, Bildad says, "Behold, God will not reject a blameless man." Now, if you go back to chapter 1, verse 8, it says, Have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil. So Job is blameless. And that actually is a quote from God himself. So Job's blameless according to who?
God.
According to God. That's a pretty good judge of whether someone is blameless or not. So we have this definition of justice. Bad things happen to bad people, or bad things happen to people who do bad things. And then good things happen to those who do good things. But it's a little muddy because this gets a little confusing. And I think we would mostly agree with Bildad's idea of justice, but doesn't quite work out here for a couple of reasons. First of all, he sees what Job is going through as punishment. It's not. We understand, we know that as the readers of this story, we know that it's not a punishment. The circumstances that Job finds himself in are not a punishment. So what are they? Sometimes bad things happen. Is that a a dissatisfying answer? Well, for one thing, we know that not all bad things that happen are God punishing us. So we can't jump to any sort of weird conclusion about what God is doing whenever something bad happens to us or to somebody else. Usually we like to think of it as, when somebody else does something wrong, well, they deserve the punishment that they got. So sometimes bad things happen and they aren't God punishing us. That's just part of the answer, or a part of the understanding of. Oh, Wes is saying dissatisfying answer. I only read the first part at first, dissatisfying answer, and I'm like, oh, yeah, thanks. But he's saying it's accurate. Sometimes bad things just happen, and we don't really know why. There is a way. I mean, in this circumstance, we do know that actually Satan was the one who was making bad things happen. So in this situation, that's what's happening. There's another thing that I think Bildad is sort of missing out on. There is a way out from under punishment that we deserve. I think Bildad sort of gets that. He tells Job to beg for mercy. The problem is, Job doesn't really actually need mercy since he didn't do anything wrong to deserve this punishment, right? So he's not deserving of punishment. Really, probably more accurately would be he doesn't need to beg for mercy. He needs to beg for grace, for God to give him this gift of freedom from his suffering. And I was thinking about that, does God sort of owe us a certain level of health, comfort, well-being, wealth? I don't think he does, but he gives us that out of his grace because he loves us. He's giving us something that we don't deserve. Mercy is not getting what you do deserve, right? That's complicated sometimes, the difference between mercy and grace. But mercy is not what Job needs. Mercy is probably more what Bildad needs. I actually like the idea of talking about mercy when we're talking about Bildad's name. You see, if Job deserved punishment, he could receive mercy. If Job, or if you or I deserve punishment, we hope and pray for mercy. Now, that doesn't mean that if we get mercy from God, God doesn't let things go without punishment. So instead, God looks at it a little differently, and God does things a little differently. He pays the price for what we have done wrong himself in a true act of mercy, and that happens on the cross. So we have this idea of justice. Justice means that the right thing is happening to the right people, and that would be sort of Bildad's understanding. I think makes sense. If you do bad things, you deserve punishment. If you do good things, you deserve good things in response. That would sort of be justice. And so people who are not receiving that, so if people who are doing things wrong and getting away with it, that's an injustice. People who are doing things right but are not getting what they deserve, not getting paid for it, that's also an injustice, right? So we've got justice, then we got mercy, and mercy sort of plays around with justice better than grace does, right? So mercy is basically saying you deserve punishment, and even though the just thing would be to give you punishment, God is going to forgive you because he's paying the price for what you have earned. And I think that's amazing. But the thing that sort of sticks out to me in this passage is actually grace. So here's Job. I guess, you always sort of assume that God kind of owes us a certain amount of comfort, health. Maybe we don't think we have to be wealthy, but we kind of feel like, if I'm a good person, if I work hard, I should have enough food to eat, a place to live, and that sort of thing. And in general, that does happen. But that is not a promise that has been made to us from God. That is out of God's grace. God gives us gifts every day. He gives us a gift of breathing. He gives us a gift of health. He gives us a gift of patience from somebody else. He gives us a gift of having a place to live. And when we don't have those things, it's not like it's a punishment. It's maybe just a spot where God's grace hasn't given us what we don't deserve yet, hasn't given us the good that we don't deserve yet. So I think sometimes we feel like, and we hold on to things and we say, I deserve what God is, I deserve the things that I have. I don't think we ever do. I don't think we ever sort of earn the things that we have. Now, I'm going to read a couple of things that Peter has said. I dropped a jar of relish in the store, and it shattered, leaving a sticky mess. The response was, we got this. We get paid to clean up the mess. No charge. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I remember I worked at Domo, and it was my job in those days. We called it jump to the pump service. And I ran out to the pump, pumped the guy's gas, collected his money, and sent him on his way. However, I forgot to take the pump out of his car, and he drove away, and it kind of ripped apart the gas pump and caused a whole bunch of damage and all kinds of problems. Thankfully, not to the guy's car, but definitely to the pump. And it was not. I felt like a huge heel, and I had just started working, and I thought I was going to lose my job, and that's what I would have deserved, probably lose my job. But they showed me mercy, and they gave me another chance. And I worked at Domo. At one point, I was one of the longest lasting employees at that particular Domo because I lasted like 12 months or something. So people didn't last long there, but But that was the deal. Yeah, has anybody else experienced mercy? There's to me, the mercy that we get from Jesus is the most amazing. And I want to, before we go on, I'm gonna read one more passage. I'm gonna keep reading a little bit in verse 21, and then I'm gonna jump back to verse 7. It says, He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouting. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the tent of the wicked will be no more. And then in verse 7 it says, and though your beginning was small, your latter days will be very great. And this is Bildad speaking and saying these words. But if you know the ending of Job, you might sort of think that this is a foreshadowing. Something good is on its way. Something good is happening to Job and for Job, and it's kind of exciting. So thank you for being here, participating here today. I look forward to seeing what God's grace brings to Job over the next while. And so we will keep going. And I hope that we can get to the parts in the end of Job that sort of see how things work out in the end for him, because it is pretty amazing. And we're actually going to talk a little bit about God's timing tomorrow and how we sort of think things should happen right now. And God has a different way of doing things. So, we got all kinds of good comments here today. Sarah says, I slept right through a 6 a.m. practice during Bison's training camp and was positive I'd be run into the ground as a consequence. Amazingly, my coach forgave and said I needed the rest. Wow. That's pretty amazing, actually, for a university level sport. Years back, this is Wes saying, years back I made a mistake in the timing of paying a bill and it cost the company. The boss shrugged it off, said that mistakes happen and that it was a good learning experience. And here, Elric William, I believe that's Sebastian. Oh, I missed it. So there you go. This is where we're going to give you mercy, Sebastian. Catch you next time. Have a good night, Sebastian. I think that's who Elric William is, yeah. Sebastian.
Let him know we can watch it.
And you can watch it a little later, Sebastian. Yes. Okay. Is this, oh man, I forget your last name, Sebastian. You have an awesome last name. What is your last name, Sebastian? Bear. Oh, I can't remember. Okay. Anyways, it's okay. Yes, there's been Longclaws. That's what it was. Sebastian Longclaws. I love your last name, Sebastian. Forgot. Okay, I'm going to pray, and then we'll close it off for the evening. Lord, thank you for your justice. Thank you for your mercy. And we thank you for your grace, for the things that you give us each day that we don't deserve. We thank you for who you are and that you love us so deeply and you're willing to offer us those things. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. We will see you tomorrow. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't yet. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be at 6:30. It's COVID 18:30 tomorrow. So just take note of that. See you tomorrow.